Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing, where today we are going to be continuing to read Dream Days by Kenneth Grahame. So, let's get going. Yes, he's a beast, agreed Selina, absently. She had forgotten all about the pig killing. Harold kicked away a freshly thrown up molehill and prodded down the hole with a stick. From the direction of Farmer Larkin's demesne came a long-drawn note of sorrow, a thin cry and appeal, telling that the stout soul of a black Berkshire pig was already faring down the stony track to Hades. "Do you know what day it is?" asked Selina presently, in a low voice, looking far away before her. Harold did not appear to know, nor yet to care. He had laid open his mole run for a yard or so, and was still grubbing at it absorbedly. "It's Trafalgar Day," went on Selina, transidly. "Trafalgar Day, and nobody cares." Something in her tone told Harold that he was not behaving quite becomingly. He didn't exactly know in what manner. Still, he abandoned his mole hunt for a more courteous attitude of attention. "Over there," resumed Selina. She was gazing out in the direction of the old high road. "Over there the coaches used to go by. Uncle Thomas was telling me about it the other day, and the people used to watch for 'em coming, to tell the time by, and perhaps to get their parcels. And one morning they wouldn't be expecting anything different. One morning, first, there would be a cloud of dust, as usual, and then the coach would come racing by, and then they would know. For the coach would be dressed in laurel, all laurel from stem to stern, and the coachman would be wearing laurel, and the guard would be wearing laurel, and then they would know. Then they would know." Harold listened in respectful silence. He would much rather have been hunting the mole, who must have been a mile away by this time if he had his wits about him. But he had all the natural instincts of a gentleman, of whom it is one of the principal marks, if not the complete definition, never to show signs of being bored. Selina rose to her feet and paced the turf restlessly with a short quarter-deck walk. "Why can't we do something?" she burst out presently. He did everything. Why can't we do anything for him?" "Who did everything?" inquired Harold meekly. "It was useless wasting further longings on that mole. Like the dead, he travelled fast." "Why, Nelson, of course," said Selina shortly, still looking restlessly around for help or suggestion. "But he's dead, isn't he?" asked Harold, slightly puzzled. "What's that got to do with it?" retorted his sister, resuming her caged lion promenade. Harold was somewhat taken aback. In the case of the pig, for instance, whose last outcry had now passed into stillness, he had considered the chapter as finally closed. Whatever innocent mirth the holidays might hold in store for Edward, that particular pig, at least, would not be a contributor. And now he was given to understand that the situation had not materially changed. He would have to revise his ideas, it seemed. Sitting up on end, he looked towards the garden for assistance in the task. Thence, even as he gazed, a tiny column of smoke rose straight up into the still air. The gardener had been sweeping that afternoon, and now an unconscious priest was offering his sacrifice of autumn leaves to the calm-eyed goddess of changing hues and chill forebodings, who was moving slowly about the land that golden afternoon. Harold was up and off in a moment, forgetting Nelson, forgetting the pig, the mole, the Larkin betrayal, and Selina's strange fever of conscience. Here was fire, real fire, to play with, and that was even better than messing with water or remodelling the plastic surface of the earth. Of all the toys the world provides for right-minded persons, the original elements rank easily the first. But Selina sat on where she was, her chin on her fists, and her fancies whirled and drifted here and there, in curls and eddies along with the smoke she was watching. As the quick-footed dusk of the short October day stepped lightly over the garden, little red tongues of fire might be seen to leap and vanish in the smoke. Harold, anon staggering under armfuls of leaves, anon stoking vigorously, was discernible only at fitful intervals. It was another sort of smoke that the inner eye of Selina was looking upon, a smoke that hung in sullen banks round the masts and the hulls of the fighting ships, a smoke from beneath which came thunder and the crash and the splinter rip, the shout of the boarding party, the choking sob of the gunner stretched by his gun, a smoke from out of which at last she saw, as through a riven pall, the radiant spirit of the victor, crowned with the coronal of a perfect death, leap in full assurance up into the ether that immortals breathe. The dusk was glooming towards darkness when she rose and moved slowly down towards the beckoning fire. Something of the priestess in her stride, something of the devotee in the set purpose of her eye. The leaves were well alight by this time, and Harold had just added an old furze bush which flamed and crackled stirringly. "Go and get some more sticks," ordered Selina, "and shavings and chunks of wood, and anything you can find. Look here, in the kitchen garden, there's a pile of old pea sticks. Fetch as many as you can carry, and then go back and bring some more." "But I say," began Harold amazedly, scarce knowing his sister, and with a vision of a frenzied gardener, pea-stickless and threatening retribution. "Go and fetch 'em quick," shouted Selina, stamping with impatience. Harold ran off at once, true to the stern system of discipline in which he had been nurtured, but his eyes were like round O's, and as he ran he talked fast to himself in evident disorder of mind. The pea-sticks made a rare blaze, and the fire, no longer smouldering sullenly, leapt up and began to assume the appearance of a genuine bonfire. Harold, awed into silence at first, began to jump round it with shouts of triumph. Selina looked on grimly, with knitted brow. She was not yet fully satisfied. "Can't you get any more sticks?" she said presently. "Go and hunt about. Get some old hampers and matting and things out of the tool-house. Smash up that old cucumber frame Edward shoved you into the day we were playing Scouts and Mohicans. Stop a bit. Hooray, I know. You come along with me." Hard by there was a hothouse, Aunt Eliza's special pride and joy, and even grimly approved of by the gardener. At one end, in an outhouse adjoining, the necessary firing was stored, and to this sacred fuel, of which we were strictly forbidden to touch a stick, Selina went straight. Harold followed obediently, prepared for any crime after that of the pea-sticks, but pinching himself to see if he were really awake. "You bring some coals," said Selina briefly, without any palaver or pro and con discussion. "Here's a basket. I'll manage the faggots. I'm guessing that's a type of wood cut." In a very few minutes there was little doubt about its being a genuine bonfire, and no paltry makeshift. Selina, Maynard now, hatless and tossing disordered, locks, all the dross of the young lady purged out of her, stalked around the pyre of her own purloining, or prodded it with a pea-stick, and as she prodded she murmured at intervals, "I knew there was something we could do. It isn't much, but still, it's something." The gardener had gone home to his tea. Aunt Eliza had driven out for hers a long way off, and was not expected back till quite late, and this far end of the garden was not overlooked by any windows, so the tribute blazed on merrily unchecked. Villagers far away, catching sight of the flare, muttered something about them young devils at their tricks again, and trudged on beerwards. Never a thought of what day it was, never a thought for Nelson, who preserved their honest pint-pots, to be paid for in honest pence, and saved them from litres and decimal coinage. The irony there. Nearer at hand, frightened rabbits popped up and vanished with a flick of white tails. Scared birds fluttered among the branches, or sped across the glade to quieter sleeping quarters. But never a bird nor a beast gave a thought to the hero to whom they owed it, that each year their little homes of horsehair, wool, or moss were safe established 'neath the flap of the British flag, and that game laws, quietly permanent, made la chasse a terror only to their betters. No one seemed to know, nor to care, nor to sympathize. In all the ecstasy of her burnt offering and sacrifice, Selina stood alone. And with that, we come to the end of the episode. Voila. So I will say thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.